Hello, everyone. Welcome to People News, your go-to channel for the latest updates on global affairs. We are dedicated to bringing you the most important stories shaping our nation and the world. As Election Day approaches, Vice President Kamala Harris leads former President Donald Trump by a slim margin of 3.4 points in the national polls, according to The Hill. However, the battleground states tell a different story, as both candidates are locked in a razor-thin competition across 7 key states. Harris leads in 4 of these states, while Trump leads in 3, and no candidate leads by more than 2 percentage points. In Arizona, Trump holds a slight 0.8-point lead, fueled by his focus on immigration, a key issue for many voters in this border state. Meanwhile, in Georgia, Trump is ahead by just 0.7 points. Harris is actively working to energize African American voters in Georgia, aiming to build on the 2020 victory for the Democrats. Michigan sees Harris leading by a tiny 0.2 points, but the tightening race there reflects the impact of foreign policy issues, including the Middle East crisis, which has influenced the state's large Arab American community. In Nevada, Harris leads by 2 points, partly due to the state's Democratic tilt and support from influential labor unions. Trump leads in North Carolina by 0.8 points, a state with significant historical Republican support. Still, demographic changes, such as a rising college-educated population and a high percentage of African American voters, could make it competitive for Harris. Pennsylvania remains critical, with Harris barely ahead by 0.8 points. Both candidates are focusing heavily on this state, with former President Obama scheduled to campaign for Harris in Pittsburgh. In Wisconsin, Harris leads by 1.3 points, though polling inaccuracies in recent elections make predictions uncertain. The race across these battlegrounds remains highly unpredictable, and both campaigns are pouring resources into voter mobilization and advertising to secure victory. Next, we turn to Pennsylvania, where Elon Musk made a rare public appearance at a rally for Donald Trump. Musk joined Trump on stage in Butler, Pennsylvania, where Trump addressed an enthusiastic crowd of 60,000 people. This event marked the first time the tech mogul appeared at a major presidential rally. The rally took place at the same site where Trump was shot by Thomas Matthew Crooks on July 13th. Musk wears a black "Make America Great Again" hat and an Occupy Mars t-shirt. Addressing the crowd, Musk expressed his support for Trump, calling the upcoming November 5th election the most important election of our lifetime. He emphasized the importance of freedom of speech and urged the audience to vote, 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 and fight, fight, fight. Musk's appearance, his first at a major presidential rally, demonstrated his increasing alignment with Trump. Trump, who began his speech by thanking the people of Pennsylvania, made light of the attempt on his life, joking, "And as I was saying," he then delivered an optimistic message, which contrasted with his usual sharp criticism of his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris. During his speech, Trump referenced an immigration chart, which had been on display when he was shot. "I love that chart," he said, pointing to the data showing low Border Patrol apprehensions during his presidency compared to current levels. He lamented the current state of the border, calling it out of control. Trump also honored Corey Compertor, a rally attendee and firefighter who was killed during the July shooting. At 6:11 p.m., the exact time the attack began, Trump held a moment of silence, with an opera singer performing Ave Maria in Compertor's memory. The rally concluded with Musk and Trump encouraging the crowd to stay engaged and participate in the upcoming election. Vice President Kamala Harris visited North Carolina for the second time in 4 days to meet victims and first responders impacted by Hurricane Helene. The visit was part of an ongoing effort to demonstrate a strong federal response to the devastation and counter-criticism that the administration's efforts have been insufficient. Harris emphasized unity in disaster response, attending a briefing at a North Carolina Air National Guard base alongside Governor Roy Cooper and FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell. The base has played a crucial role, delivering over 100,000 pounds of food to affected communities. While in Charlotte, Harris met with displaced families and praised first responders for their heroic efforts. North Carolina has been particularly affected by the hurricane, which resulted in over 200 deaths across 6 states, including 68 fatalities in North Carolina alone. Harris announced that Mecklenburg County, which includes Charlotte, has been added to the federal disaster declaration, accelerating assistance to those in need. The administration has provided over $26 million in housing assistance and continues to support recovery efforts. Former President Trump has criticized the federal response, accusing the administration of mismanaging FEMA funds. Harris and President Biden have countered these claims by visiting disaster-stricken areas, emphasizing their commitment to support victims for as long as needed. In Asheville, North Carolina, communities are coming together after the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene, which hit the area a week ago. With many roads still impassable and telecommunications severely disrupted, thousands remain cut off in the mountains of western North Carolina. The isolation has made relief efforts challenging for federal, state, and local officials. But the spirit of volunteerism is shining bright. Ben Miller, a real estate agent from Winston-Salem, is one of the many residents stepping up. Ben, along with volunteers from his son's soccer team, has been gathering donations and driving supplies into the affected areas. He's delivered over 27,000 bottles of water and other essential supplies to communities like Marion and Spruce Pine. It's been intense, Miller says. These areas are hard to reach even on a good day, let alone after a storm of this magnitude. Private volunteer groups are also supplementing the official relief efforts. The Altitude Project, a team of private pilots and professionals, has raised $200,000 this week to support their operations. Led by people like Andrew Everhart, the group has been using helicopters and jets to deliver supplies from a large warehouse in Charlotte to the isolated mountain communities near Asheville. Everhart highlights the urgency of their mission, saying, "It usually takes the government 3, 4, 5 days to coordinate a response, so we just decided to hop into action." The Altitude Project's swift response has been crucial for communities in need. Aerolux Aviation, a Tennessee-based flight company, has also joined the efforts. With 3 helicopters on hand, they've delivered food, water, baby items, and satellite systems to support emergency communication. Co-owner Brooke Barzik shared that local residents were deeply grateful and often emotional as they rushed to receive supplies. On the ground, volunteers are using any means necessary to reach those stranded. The Mountain Mule Packer Ranch is transporting supplies using mule trains to navigate the rugged and impassable terrain, while others, like Dave Gindelsperger, are riding ATVs and using chainsaws to clear paths through the mountains. Gindelsperger, a local business owner, has witnessed firsthand the devastation left behind by the storm. "Yesterday was the first day that I could sit down and cry. We saw homes completely washed away. Entire communities were just gone," he shared, reflecting the emotional toll of the ongoing crisis. Despite the massive destruction, stories of volunteers stepping up, working tirelessly, and helping those in need highlight the incredible power of community and resilience in times of disaster. In corporate news, Toyota Motor Corporation has announced it will no longer participate in the Human Rights Council's Corporate Equality Index, marking its shift away from diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. The company said it will focus its community activities on STEM education and workforce readiness. This decision, conveyed through a memo to its 50,000 employees and 1,500 dealerships, places Toyota among a growing list of corporations moving away from what critics label as woke policies. Conservative activist Robbie Starbuck shared the news on social media platform X, celebrating Toyota's decision. He highlighted changes such as the company's withdrawal from pride parades, LGBTQ children's events, and ending participation in the Corporate Equality Index, which monitors LGBTQ+ inclusivity in the workplace. According to Starbuck, these changes signify a massive win for sanity, particularly for the company's 381,000 employees who will no longer be subject to divisive policies. The Corporate Equality Index, established by the Human Rights Council, HRC, initially focused on ensuring fair treatment for LGBTQ+ employees. Over time, the requirements for achieving a high score on the index have expanded, prompting criticism from those who see the policies as overreaching. In response to companies like Toyota opting out, the HRC announced that it will deduct 25 points from the scores of businesses that publicly withdraw, but will continue to rank every Fortune 500 company regardless of participation. Toyota's decision follows similar moves by other prominent companies, including Ford, Harley-Davidson, Jack Daniels, and Lowe's, all of which have been scaling back DEI initiatives. Starbucks pointed to this trend as evidence of a broader shift in corporate America toward neutrality. We're seeing some of the biggest corporations change their policies, Starbucks said. The landscape of corporate America is quickly shifting to sanity and neutrality. We are the trend now, not the anomaly. Toyota's announcement comes amid a broader conversation on the role of corporate responsibility and social issues in business. As companies reevaluate their commitments, debates over inclusivity and neutrality in the workplace are set to continue, particularly with the influence of both advocates and critics of DI policies. The HRC has stated that it will maintain its rankings of major companies, emphasizing that its annual index aims to highlight LGBTQ+ rights and fair treatment regardless of the company's participation. A growing movement in collegiate sports has led Utah State University to become the fourth institution to refuse to compete against San Jose State University's women's volleyball team, citing the inclusion of a trans-identifying male player. Riley Gaines, a former collegiate swimmer and advocate for women's sports, praised the school for this decision, making them the fourth institution to forfeit a match against SJSU due to a man playing on the women's volleyball team. Utah Governor Spencer J. Cox expressed support for the school's decision to prioritize fairness and safety in women's sports by boycotting matches against San Jose State University, SJSU. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA, is facing increasing pressure to address the issue as women's teams take matters into their own hands to protect their athletes. The University of Wyoming and the Boise women's volleyball team also recently refused to play against SJSU due to the presence of a trans-identifying male on the opposing team. These actions highlight the importance of creating a fair and safe environment for female athletes and underscore the NCAA's failure to protect women in sports. The decision to forfeit matches against SJSU has sparked a debate about inclusion, fairness, and safety in women's sports. Female athletes are standing up for their rights and the integrity of their competitions, calling on the NCAA to take action and address the issue seriously. As more schools refuse to play against teams with trans-identifying males, the NCAA is under pressure to reconsider its policies and prioritize the well-being of female student-athletes. The movement to protect women's sports is gaining momentum, as schools across the country take a stand against unfair competition resulting from male participation on women's teams. Finally, former President Donald Trump recently posted a traditional prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel on September 29th, coinciding with Michaelmas, a feast celebrated by Catholics worldwide. This follows an earlier post celebrating the birth of the Virgin Mary. Although Trump is not Catholic, Father Gerald Murray welcomed the message, praising its significance. Saint Michael is revered as the angel who cast the devil out of heaven and is often depicted holding the sword of justice. He serves as the patron saint of warriors, policemen, and firemen, among others. The prayer Trump posted originates from a vision by Pope Leo XIII in 1884. After witnessing a terrifying vision of a conversation between God and the devil regarding the fate of the Church, Pope Leo composed the prayer to Saint Michael, which was later made a part of daily Mass. Saint Michael is honored globally, including at Mont Saint-Michel in France, where a monastery was built to commemorate his appearances to a bishop in the year 708. That's all for today's edition of People News. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future updates. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time.